Gold was hit with some heavy selling pressure because we have a breakthrough with US and Iran. Good progress was made on the talks, but is this going to hold? Is this really going to be sustainable? Because there's still plenty more talks and there could be much more volatility, which we need to break down. Morning, traders. Happy, what's today? Today, Wednesday. I hope we're all well and truly lit. Yes. We're back. We're back with another day in these beautiful markets. Welcome back to the E8 Market Macro Desk. I am your host, Ken Jigbo. Hope you're all well. Guys, now, if you follow me next, obviously you would have seen I covered ground on, you would have seen that heavy pressure on gold yesterday. And a lot of you probably panicking like, what's happening? What's happening here? So we did have some downside pressure for gold. Let's just jump. I'm going to go over to the 5-minute time frame so you could just sort of see the drop that we had during the session. And it was here, boom. Okay. So this big drop, we fell, prices fell, really fell from 49.20 all the way down to almost $100 drop. Well, in total, almost $100 drop. And then obviously price sort of bounced. And we'll talk about that technically in a moment. But the reason for that was because Iran says good progress was made in the nuclear talks with US and Geneva. Now, you remember how I noted to you guys, stay locked in on the developments of this. Obviously, you follow me on X. Perfect. You're watching these videos. Perfect. So we're going to be covering obviously any change in potential sentiment, because this is what this is all about. It's not just, geopolitical headline. This doesn't mean anything to me in terms of my trading, but I'm hoping that you're becoming aware and largely educated to the fact that this shifts sentiment, because stocks had been under pressure previously and they bounced. Gold had been, one of the key reasons gold had been driving to the upside because of this uncertainty, and it's waiting for that next potential catalyst, i.e. these talks failing possibly, and then obviously being able to rally. The reason why I'm taking it with a pinch of salt as well is because we know the history of Trump, don't we? We know what Trump can be like. It's almost like, sorry, no offense, but it's almost like this guy can be bipolar. One day you wake up, there's a great mood. Yeah, we're going to do great things with China. I'm going to meet China next month and we're going to do great things. We're going to do this and that. And next minute, China. They've made a very big mistake. 100% tariffs on Chinese goods. It just depends on what mood Trump is feeling in, to be honest with you. So anyway, to the point. Given how sensitive this is, obviously we have the Iranian leader. He has strong views. Trump has strong views. And I wanted to just bring this up because this just shows what this guy's like as well. He said the US president keeps saying that they have the strongest military force in the world. The strongest military force in the world may at times be struck so hard that it cannot get up. Guys, if that's not fight talk, I don't know what is. This is the words that's coming out of this guy's mouth. So we just have to be aware that at any given time, things can turn south. Okay. And I've given you the ultimate playbook before. So if things turn south, what we can expect in terms of reaction, in terms of safe haven flows, is obviously gold prices to regather some large upside momentum. I personally believe, obviously, in my opinion, that gold is obviously going to be consolidating for quite a period of time, until we get a catalyst to break us out of this range. And it could be the fact that something is completely agreed. Okay. They have completely agreed a deal, US and Iran. And this is just not going to happen again. It's not going to hit the surface for many, many months, potentially even a year. Or things turn south and obviously they go to war, and then obviously gold breaks out to the upside. So I said to you guys, we've been noticing this for a little while, that gold's probably going to be consolidating. Okay. And we're caught within zones. When we look here on the 4-hour, you can see we're caught. The range low is around 48, 60, 50 area. The range to the upside is we're capped. Obviously, as I said to you guys before, this 5.1K, this is the gateway to further upside pressure. Okay, we can expect intraday breakouts. Like right now, it looks like we're going to have a potential breakout to the upside. We could view this on the 4-hour at the time of recordings, a potential bottom area. We're breaking out of this channel here where we were printing lower highs, lower lows, and now we've got a nice bullish engulfing outside of that channel, outside of that near-term structure, and we've got room for potential push to the upside. We're challenging the Asian range high at the moment, so you can see that double bottom there in the lower time frame as well. Look at that, beautiful. Bam, 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 breaking out of this structure. This is the pullback structure that I was talking about, and now we've got room to push to the upside. As I say, guys, if a number of people were messaging me on X and just like, I am personally sitting on the sidelines, agreed. I agree with you. Right now, this is probably one of those times, unless you specifically have design tailored strategies for range trading, right? And you're confident when you're range trading, you've back tested it and you have a methodology to approach it, fine, albeit. But for me personally, especially when I'm trading gold, I'm a trend trader, specifically with gold. These beautiful moves. Okay. And obviously near-term moves here were quite nice where we were printing high highs, high lows, high highs, high lows. And we broke that. We broke this. Remember, I said, keep an eye on this. I know I keep saying, remember. But we had this, right, where we had sort of narrowing pennant structure, however you want to look at it. Price action was narrowing, and then boom. Can you see that? And this is the beautiful thing about trading, right? Always be aware. I'm not asking you to go and just specifically trade patterns. No. Okay. Come with a methodology at the end of the day that works for you. That's simple. Fine. But be aware of potential mass psychology. Markets are trading this, right? They're trading this, the trend line, the trend, the structure, the narrowing pattern, the narrowing price action. And then at some point, it's being aware. And this is why people always say to me, oh, Ken, how did you remember when I called this massive gold top before? And we had this big correction before we pushed to the upside. And it's just pattern recognition hat is on and just being aware of the mass psychology, knowing where those stops are, where the mass psychology, where the mass market placing their stops. Okay, a lot of stops will be here at this low area anyway, right? You see all that support, but then also where trends were forming, trend lines are forming. I know obviously a load of stops, people will be trailing their stops, and as soon as that level gets taken out, okay, the move is exacerbated to the downside. It invites a big wave of downside pressure. And what was beautiful is that, yeah, that was just nice. Okay. It was beautiful. That was just nice. But yeah, technically, guys, just expect ranges for a little while. For me, I would just be waiting for that resumption to the north. Got UBS. So for anyone who doesn't know, UBS are a massive Swiss bank. Gold price will hit $6,200 by June. Ooh, okay. I think we could see that before. But guys, let's just quickly, just a realization. Gold can range for a long time. I remember this one in April, and I remember in August we were on the stream, on the 8 live streams, and I said, like, this is it now. This is the breakout is happening. I remember very rightly, and we broke out. But just to put it in perspective for you, we were ranging from late April all the way to August. So that's May, June, July, August, 4 months essentially, 4 months in a range. Not to say that we're going to range now for 4 months, but always keep in your minds that that's possible. Okay. It's very possible. So anyway, I want to jump over now to talk about the UK GBP because it's very interesting. We've had some good data out at the moment and traders are boosting their bets, right? We're seeing a rising amount of bets pricing in for rate cuts from the Bank of England, fully priced in 2 cuts to happen this year. And it comes after quickly because we're going to take a look at the charts in a moment. But when you look at UK data, we're continuing to call. Now, do you remember the last Bank of England rate decision is very important. I'm giving you some game here. I'm giving you some freaking game. All right. By the way, guys, since you've been watching these videos, have you found it like educational for you? Do you find you're now starting to think about some fundamentals that can influence in your technicals, how you're approaching? Because let me know in the comments. I'm very interested to know if this is being deemed as educational for you. If it's not, I'm going to scratch my head and have a rethink about how we can this is the macro desk, right? My whole point is to deliver you the news, but also try and make it educational as best as possible without blabbering on like I'm doing now. But anyway, so the last Bank of England rate decision, this was here. I just want to go to this date a minute just so I could show you something, put something in perspective. So they actually kept rates unchanged at 3.75%, but that was a dovish unchanged in terms of the rates. Okay. Them keeping rates unchanged was dovish. Why? Because they vote on this and their vote was expected to be 7 members saying unchanged and only 2 people calling for a cut. However, only 5 members were saying unchanged and 4. So an additional 2 that the markets weren't expecting, additional 2. So 4 people in total were calling for a rate cut. So what that means is we're getting extremely close now to a central bank overall that wants rate cuts. So we can expect potentially at the next decision that they're going to be cutting rates in March. The next decision is in March, wasn't it rightly so? Yes. So on that point, if we go back and just fast forward a minute and look at the data, claimant count change. So the amount of people claiming unemployment benefits jumped up to 28.6 thousand. So that's more people claiming unemployment. If we've got more people claiming unemployment, what does that signal in your head? Macro head on. What does that signal? It signals we've got potentially less people in the workforce, less people stimulating the economy, spending, i.e. so at some point we should see inflation start to cool, right? If we've got more unemployed people, less people spending money. If we haven't got work, how are we going to spend money? Average earnings also, this is very important. 4.2%, a big drop. Expectations were 4.6%. Previous was revised lower from 4.7 to 4.6. So that's a big drop anyway, from 4.6 to 4.2%. Bam, 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 bam. In my head, like when I'm dropping all these numbers, sometimes I just feel like, I've said it before, like I'm spitting bars. Anyway, and this is cooling. You can see wages are cooling. If wages are cooling, again, what that just reinforces what I just said to you on an economics point 101. Less people, less money to spend, i.e., prices of goods and services will start to come down. Overall, the economy will start to cool. And then let's fast forward to today. This morning, we just had UK CPI data fresh off whatever, coming in at 3%. So it has, look, in line with expectations, but it's come down from 3.4% to 3%. Core CPI, which is very important as well, the core number that strips out the volatility of food and energy, coming down to 3.1%. I say coming down because it's in green here, but it's coming down from the previous of 3.2. So don't overlook that. Yes, okay, slightly higher than expectation, but still moving in the right direction for more rate cuts from the Bank of England. PPIs as well, producer prices. Previous was revised lower. I mean, it's not the PPIs, the producers' price is not the big deal. It's the consumer price index that we really, really want to focus on for the UK. So we are being lined up for more rate cuts from the Bank of England. Okay, and this comes as well. Bear in mind, last week, can we just quickly just refresh our mind to last week, right? Where we had UK GDP data. So let's quickly go back one more week. Stay with me because it's very important. This is why we stay ahead of the game about everyone else, the rest of the retail market, because a lot of retail market don't look at the fundamentals. UK GDP came in at 0.1%, right? And this came down, the previous number, from 0.3% to 0.2. So we're almost got no growth. And when you look at UK growth on a month on month, it's been very much hit and miss. A lot of missing, a lot of negative readings. So how does that translate on the charts? Well, guys, as you know, I've been short GBP Aussie for a very long time. Okay, I've been calling these shorts for an extremely long time. I have traded it in and out, right? I haven't held really nice swings on this. Obviously, on the monthly, it's been incredibly bearish. We've had that follow through of bearish momentum here in the month of February. I said to you guys before, structure is expected to remain intact. Like, this is beautiful structure at the moment where we've been printing these lower highs, these lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower high, lower low. And obviously, we're in the process right now of what do we have here? So we've recently printed lower high area. We haven't quite extended to that lower low yet. But for me, as I say, any pullback that we see here, and you can just see how we're just continuing to respect. We're just respecting. So, okay, I had to pause that for a moment, guys. So if we look here, any pullback, as I say, is subject to being sold. What we've got is a little bit of near-term support at the moment, a zone, okay, protecting psychological 91s. It can happen when we've got those big regions. I would just be waiting for a break retest. You see when we've got these nice clear structures as well. Like, for example, look at this low area here. Okay, this was a low area here, right? We see how we broke through, retest, rejection, then resume business, right? We've pulled back into this region here, but you can see the nice trend, the nice structure, we're following these beautiful EMAs as well, and these nice rejections as part of this trend. But obviously some stabilization at the moment. The reason being for the halting, as I said to you guys before, keep an eye. This is very, very important. So tomorrow, overnight, we're going to have the Australian labour market data, which is expected to come down in terms of the employment change, expecting slower jobs being added at 20,000, okay, from the previous of 65.2, and the unemployment rate is expected to tick higher to 4.2%. I think there's room for surprises still. The Australian economy has been performing well, but obviously this is very much going to be important for shaping up whether we're going to see that continuation of markets thinking RBA can stay hawkish, RBA can continue to raise rates. We need to see hot labour market data in order to reinforce that view. So that will further shape up those trends. And obviously, as I explained before as well, we had those nice trends. We've had that nice trend of Euro Aussie, but we're just at this consolidation phase at the moment. We have pulled back. We are still at a potential lower high area for a lower low. But I think there's a little bit of consolidation, maybe just caution ahead of that labour market data from Australia. But that would be the green light for resumption and continued outperformance for Australia. Now, I'm going to quickly go over to the dollar a moment because we've just been in consolidation mode, right? And I said to you guys before, keep an eye on obviously this area here, right? Coming up towards that 90, well, firstly 97.50. You see where we're stalling here at this gap area? We stalled there. You see that big rejection, right? When we've got these gaps in the price, typically speaking, they're going to be acting as a support or resistance, right? And we've come up to here. We faced a rejection yesterday, and now we're coming up for another challenge, right? This is just awful price action at the moment. As I said to you guys before, I am staying on the sidelines. I'm staying on the sidelines. The way in which I may partake in the fact that dollar's going to push to the upside is once we clear, for me personally, obviously we've cleared 97.50, this gap area again, but I'll be looking for a clearance of this 98 block. Okay, once we get a clearance of this 98 block of this 98 resistance, I'm going to look at potential near-term longs for the dollar, i.e. shorts for euro. But this sort of price action at the moment is personally not for me, right? We are in a trend to the downside. I haven't seen any clear intraday entries. Like while the trend is to the downside, where we're printing these lower highs, lower lows, I'm looking for those liquidity sweeps above the Asian range high for the shorts to the low, but I haven't seen a clean move yet. Obviously, we've had one there in GU, but that's not super clean for me personally at all. So yeah, on the sidelines at the moment with dollar related. I'm going to quickly just wrap up with stocks right now, because I continue to see these headlines, right, about AI fears. If you look here, AI fears weighs on NASDAQ. AI fears triggers global stock market sell-off. Like, I mean, we haven't seen a global stock market sell-off. Like, these guys are extreme. Obviously, they're trying to get views. We are in freaking consolidation mode right now. I said to you guys, for me, the catalyst would have to be war for this, or for something. I don't know, because we had the dot-com bubble. Remember the dot-com bubble? Some of you won't remember the dot-com bubble, but we had the dot-com bubble in 2000. And when obviously all these internet stocks, everyone buying and buying, but it just weren't sustainable. Everyone's just launching dot-com businesses. It's the same with AI, right? Everyone's leveraging AI. There's all these AI businesses, but is it sustainable? Could it be similar? I think the AI boom, if we had the crash, would be worse than the dot-com bubble. I don't know if you guys have a view on that. I'll be interested to know. I still would like to conduct some further analysis and research and history on that dot-com bubble to see if it is. I mean, the boom that we've seen is somewhat reminiscent, but I'd have to look a little bit more at sort of price behavior. So NASDAQ is just in consolidation mode. Obviously, you can see US 30 as well. We are a bit more inclined here. We're printing high highs, high lows. And the same sort of consolidation being observed with SPX as well. As I said, keep an eye on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is vulnerable, and I think this could still drag stocks lower. We're just consolidating a moment, but I think it still wants to fill that wick and head towards that psychological 50K mark. In terms of the rest of the day, guys, what have we got on the calendar? RBNZ, by the way, I just purposely didn't mention this. This was a non-event. They actually, when you look at NZD, when you look at NZD today, we are seeing a little bit of underperformance, actually, okay? It wasn't a non-event. It was not what I was expecting, because I thought they could have left the door open. There was that possibility that they mentioned hike, but they didn't. They actually spoke about more rate cuts potentially to come. They see inflation heading to the downside. Their overall commentary was dovish from the RBNZ. That's why when you look at, obviously, AED, NZD, this was something that I was in longs before. I don't know. I can't remember if we had this video or if this was from my community, but structure was obviously to the upside. I had some longs here when we previously came back down to this lower high for a higher high, because the reason why this is so beautiful is there's a divergence between the RBA. Maybe you've heard me keep saying this divergence. It's divergence between the RBA and the RBNZ. The RBA hiking rates, the RBNZ aren't. And now they're looking at potential rate cuts. Okay. They're not looking at hikes. They've lowered their growth forecast. They've lowered their inflation forecast. So obviously structures to the upside, high highs, high lows, high highs, high lows. You get the point. So you can really see that underperformance in NZD versus its peers. Like look at GP NZD up today, sharply bouncing there. There was this massive area of demand anyway at this psychological sort of 224 area with bounce. But that's why, for anyone that doesn't know, NZD is underperforming today because markets are now repricing in some more rate cut action. We'll look at some specific, I'm going to try and conduct a little bit more analysis today once we've settled and see if there's any opportunities or divergences for NZD. But really, it will be AED NZD where that massive divergence is. But I'm going to have a deeper dive in after this recording. I believe that's everything from me now, guys. Yeah, as I said, just wrapping up. In terms of today, nothing major. We do have the FMC meeting minutes, but that's going to be pretty much a non-event. I will catch you tomorrow. Hopefully there's a lot more sexy and exciting news. Have a blessed and amazing trading day, and I'll catch you on the next one. Let's get it.